We spent in the wrong areas and overpaid, says Danny. Well, I disagree with you on that one. We should have bought a midfielder in the summer, and we should have bought a midfielder in January. We should have bought 2 midfielders. We didn't buy any. Sesko was a good signing. Le Mans was actually right at the end of the window, so we were lucky they even did that. They weren't going to do that. Cunha and Mbeumo made sense for Amorim's system, but they didn't buy him a midfielder. In this system, Cunha doesn't work. I've just said it. He doesn't work. I sort of hinted at it last night. The double signing of Cunha and Mbeumo doesn't work anymore. And I think the club know it. That £120 million suddenly looks like a bit of a waste of money because they don't work in this team. Mbeumo does, Cunha doesn't. Cunha's not a left winger. So what are United going to do next season with Cunha? Because we can't keep him on the left wing. He's not a left winger. He doesn't know how to put a cross in. So Cunha and Mbeumo are brilliant signings, but we didn't need both of them if we were going to play a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3. And I love Cunha. I think he's a brilliant player. Maybe we let Bruno go and Cunha plays there. Maybe that's the plan. But you're going to lose the passing range, just like you're going to lose Casemiro's height in the summer as well. Cunha and Mbeumo weren't bad signings. I just think in this system, there's a lot of questions. A lot of questions. I mean, look, Harry Maguire doesn't work in this system. Give him a new contract. I like Harry Maguire, but he doesn't work in this system. He only works in a back four if you play on the edge of your box. The minute the fullbacks push forward and he's left on his own, he isn't quick enough. In Amorim's system, Maguire's fine because he's got 3 centre-backs. In a back four, where you want to attack, he's a problem. He's a big problem. So there's a lot of problems in that team. A lot of problems. Fullbacks, centre-back, Cunha on the wing. Is Bruno staying? There are a lot of problems in that team. Factually. Dino69, if United are in the Champions League next season, does it worry you that it might hinder them to get quality players because clubs will put premium prices on their players because United are desperate? Look, Dino, I don't think we're as good a team as Newcastle. I know they've had a bad season, but I think Newcastle are a good team. I agree with the comment that they leave a lot of space and you can score goals against them. But Eddie Howe does try and play in the right way. They do play with intensity. They do try and get forward. It's a very intense way of playing football. And I think this season they don't have the squad to do Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. And they got to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup and they're still in the FA Cup as well. He just doesn't have the squad for it. And it's a warning sign. 1, we're not actually as good at football as Newcastle. And 2, look at where they are in the league. So next season, I don't think there's a United fan out there that's not looking at next season and going, this is probably... Being in the Champions League doesn't mean we're going to be in it next year or the year after. We've been here before. 1 year in, 2 years out, 1 year in, 1 year out. I think next season, to get in the top 5, it's going to be very, very difficult. I mean, look at it now. We're in the top 5 because Villa are going to fall away because they don't have the squad, and Newcastle aren't there because they don't have the squad. But next season, Newcastle won't be in Europe and they'll probably be back again. So look, it's always going to be competitive to get in that top 5. And we're very lucky that we get 5 spots, because if it was 4, I would be panicking a little bit. But with 5 spots, I think we'll be okay this year. But next year, it's going to be very difficult. YG says, it always amazes me when the centre-backs have the ball, there is no movement whatsoever in front. Such a basic part of the game, low IQ players and badly coached. If you look at the first half yesterday, YG, the volume of backward passes we were playing was incredible. Like, the amount of times Shaw or Mazraoui were going back to the centre-backs who were then going back to Le Mans was incredible. It's a real problem. But look, I do need to talk about Mainoo. It would be wrong of me not to. And look, I just have to say, when it comes to Mainoo, look, I'm a big fan of Mainoo. However, he is no longer the player he was when he broke out. And I don't know why. I don't know whether it's injury or, you know, lack of development in certain areas. I don't know what's gone on with Mainoo, but he's not the player when he first burst on the scene. Because when he first burst on the scene, he was playing... I remember him playing as a number 6 at Newcastle and Goodison Park, and he was brilliant. I remember him playing in the World Cup, in the Euros, and he was very, very good. I remember the goals he scored against Wolves and his ability to take people on. He seems to have lost a yard of pace. And that's mad. I don't know how you do that at 20. I don't know how, but he seems to have lost a yard of pace. And I still think it's way too early for people to be saying he's overrated or he's not very good. I think he's had a very demanding season. We need to sort this contract out. And in a way, he probably needs to not go to the World Cup and have that, disappointment to go and have one of those summers like Rashford had. Where you go to the States or Dubai and you get ripped and you run up and down hills and you get really, really fit. I feel like he needs a proper pre-season and not a World Cup. I don't think he should go to the World Cup, by the way. I mean, I don't know what Tuchel's going to do, but if he's thinking about taking Shaw and Mainoo, I'd be stunned as a United fan. They're just not good enough at the moment. But I think with Mainoo, it's very different to Shaw. I like Mainoo. I think there's a very good player there. He's just not impacting games. And I said it against Palace and I said it against Everton. He was a passenger. And he was a passenger last night in a worse way because he got bullied at times last night. Like Linton, Joe Linton, Tonali, Ramsey, Willock. They all overpowered him. So I think with Mainoo, he has been playing football consistently now for about 6 weeks. I'd expect him to have got better and better and better. It feels again like he's got... I think Mainoo's almost reflective of the team. I thought against Man City and Arsenal, he came in with a real buzz and an intensity. And over the last few games, he's gradually getting worse and worse and worse. And that doesn't actually make sense because he hadn't played much and he'd just come back from an injury. And he came in the team and he played with such intensity and speed. And then in the last few weeks, it's just got worse and worse and worse. And that leads me to believe it's got to be coaching. It's got to be fitness conditioning. Because how do you come into a team that you've not played in for 5 months and have intensity and conditioning? And then as more games go on, you lose it. But look, you're never going to pin me down on negativity around Mainoo because I like the player and I think he's talented. And I think these are the sort of players you want Man United to be bringing through. But he isn't playing very well at the moment. And there could be a multitude of reasons for that. But I do believe that there is like a conditioning issue as well. But look, as a lot of people last night were saying, has Amrim not been justified again? He was right about Rashford, he was right about Garnacho, and he's right about Mainoo. I mean, look, I don't think he was right about Mainoo. I think with Mainoo, he just wanted certain things. And to be honest with you, when Amrim spoke about Mainoo, it was always quite positively. He just said, I want certain things from him. Watching Mainoo in the last few games under Carrick in a midfield 3, it's very obvious that he couldn't have played in a midfield 2. I mean, he couldn't have played in a midfield 2. There's more work in a midfield 2. He wouldn't have been able to do it. So I think it might have been, under Amrim, it might have just been a little bit more formational. I don't think he could have played in a midfield 2. I really don't.